Now, it's time for Straight on the Point with your host from some undisclosed location. Here's Jesse T.
Hey, it's good to be back with you. The Brown Beauty is back on duty. Jesse Terrero on the Jesse T Show. Hey, we are here as we roll through the week into a weekend. Another beautiful day in Southern California. Not as hot, but the traffic sucks like it always does here in L.A. No matter what you do, how you time yourself the day before, you take the same route the same time, and you're screwed up. That's just the way it is. Good to have you with us here on the radio and everywhere, from the community to the world. We are here for you, and what a great week we've had. What a terrific show. Hey, you can check us out right now, of course, at www.thepowerofvoices.com and facebook.com/Jesse Terrero, and Straight on the Point and The Power of Voices, and YouTube Live, The Power of Voices, and Instagram and Livestream and Periscope and Snapchat. And let me see, where else can we? YouPeek and Ustream and everywhere else in the world. We're there because we are everywhere. You know me. I can't help but being me. Boom! Jesse T is in the house with you. Got Lee and the beautiful voice of God. Thank you very much, Lee, for helping us out and bringing us on like you do all the time. It sounds good. Lee, you can check him out in the mornings from 10 to 12. He's here on the air every day, and we have the diverse of personality types, that's for sure. He's one of those left-wing lunatic liberals. Yes, you lunatic, Lee, but I love you. It kind of matches with your L. You know, I do love you, man. I'm a right-winger, you know, off the deep end. That's right. And the blue shirt. I got it. Well, I got the blue mic, baby. That's right. So we blue, and he's got a blue shirt. Oh, who's he? Oh, you don't know who he is? So I should tell you who he is. We can't refer to him as he all the time. We got a camera here and a camera there and a camera here and a camera there and a camera there. We got cameras everywhere. It's amazing. Hey, let's bring on Pete and Tico, baby. What's happening, buddy? Yes. What a great actor. Has been around forever, since Dead Sea was alive. And you look really great for 4,000 years old. I want you to know that.
Yes, olive oil helps a lot.
Olive oil. No, it's that Italian. Are you Italian or Greek?
Sicilian.
Yeah.
Napoli Don.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Hey, you know a bunch of Italians from New York, don't you? That's right. Oh.
Wow.
Well, that's been on the radio for so many years there. So it's good to have you along. Hey, you might want to check us out. Chime in right now and check out the show, because we've got a good show lined up for you. Something a little bit different, you know. We're having a little bit of fun today because there's a lot of things going on in the motion picture and film business. Now, we're not going to get too into the nitty-gritty of it all, but we're gonna hit some topics here that are real important to the industry here in Southern California. We've lost so many film productions and TV productions and commercial productions and voiceover productions. They're just fleeing the state. That's one of the things we're going to talk about. And the reason why we brought Pete in, because he is a candidate for the SAG-AFTRA presidency. All right, man. Congratulations. That's terrific.
Thank you.
How did you decide you wanted to jump into that piranha pool?
Well, after being a member for 38 years, watching the infrastructure work, I saw a lot of corruption, what I believe to be corruption, and a lack of accountability going on in the whole business model at SAG-AFTRA seems to be run for the benefit of the staff as opposed to the benefit of the members, which it was designed. And first, I want to acknowledge Eric Garcetti, because Eric Garcetti is really the one who spearheaded the tax credit in California, who has brought a lot of production back to Los Angeles. And, everyone owes Mr. Garcetti a debt of gratitude for that kind of integrity. He ran on that campaign, and he actually delivered on his promise.
Yeah, he teamed up with Raul Bocanegra of the State Assembly, a pal of mine for many years, and I know Eric too. And they finally were able to get California to move in the right direction a few years ago. Now they're working on revamping that and even making it better.
Yeah, well, it's like, obviously we have one of the largest economies in the country, and yet Toyota, Oracle were leaving the state because of the high corporate tax rates. And, as a collective group of people, I mean, we all have to understand that we should make it more business friendly to operate in California. We'd create a hell of a lot more jobs if that was present. I mean, if your tax rates, you lower it 3-4%, you're going to get these companies to stay here, because then they can afford, to pay people and actually afford to keep more of the money in the pockets of the employees.
Gee, what a business concept that is. That's like from Business 101 in grammar school. I mean, sure.
Yeah, so the bottom line is that each entity has to be run ethically, with principles. And the thing with the country is we as people don't see a lot of ethics and principles in our leadership. So we have to start as a grassroots campaign. Everybody in the country needs to turn their eyes on the inside and govern themselves. Because everyone that looks to a leader, hey, you lead me, and then I just want to be quiet, and I'm going to sit in my room and drink a beer, and nothing gets done. You have to be accountable for yourself, your own integrity, honor your own heart, and then move forward and support your fellow brothers and sisters to honor their heart. Then as a collective group of people, we can, as most people,
The community, the state.
justice, allow for certain things to happen. Now, it's just a parody of the elections that we had this year. I mean, there was so much derision and arguing and anger, but at least for the highest good, it woke a lot of people up saying, wow, look what's happening to us. So in that particular subject, you have to honor the two presidential candidates because they had so much derision and I want to say unethical behavior between them that the public started waking up and going, hey, something's not right here. So that's the first step. The second step is to really then turn their eyes on the inside and support ethics and principles and the truth. And if you support the truth and don't waver from that and don't let money or materialism sway, because that's just an illusion.
So it's turned over the last few decades into kind of like a good old boys club. I mean, I'm a SAG-AFTRA member for about 40 years too as well, and it seems like it's turned into a good old boy club for the very few, and the rest of us all seem not to get the support. It's certainly like that we used to get 25 or 30 years ago. It was a completely different understanding.
Yeah, SAG, the infrastructure of the Screen Actors Guild was for the protection of all members. You know, the old founding fathers of Jimmy Cagney, I mean, they went on a limb, 13, 14 actors, to support their particular rights. And they certainly set a base and a really good high bar to protect people with, better working conditions and wages and a really good, pension and health plan. And the difference is like since 2001, 2002, we all had the same health plan. Our employees, the people we employed, and the members had the same health plan. Since then, we've been hijacked. Our employees now have over double our pension cap. Their pension caps are $210,000 a year, and the members are only $96,000.
Yeah, my father retired out of 20th Century Fox after 37 years with motion picture health and welfare and a huge surplus of money. But the guys coming in, he did everything with film. He touched film in every way possible over 37 years. And the guys coming in now in that same industry, I'm afraid that they're not going to have that which my father had after 37 years.
The way that the infrastructure is now, they absolutely will not have that. The hard thing to swallow as a performer, I've been in the business 38 years. I can't get a full pension. And as a stuntman and a stunt coordinator, you beat your body up, and all these people, like dancers do, same thing.
Right.
And most labor around in the country, if you're a police officer for 20 years or a fireman 20 years, you get a full pension. And
100%.
Yes, and it is unethical that our staff would receive double our pension benefit, and they can retire after working only 20 years if they're 55 years of age at SAG-AFTRA, and they get the last 5 years of their best cumulative earnings over those 5 years. So if you worked at SAG-AFTRA the last 5 years and your average salary was about $120,000, you'd get approximately $90,000 a year.
Wait. Let's go back up on that. Wait a second now. Sometimes things hit me a little bit slower after the fact. My brain is still working on what you just said. So you're saying that when I walk into SAG and the staff workers there and the hierarchy, they have the ability to get a full pension in a shorter period of time than the performers have the ability to get not even a full pension over a longer period of time.
Yes, with only listen, SAG members have to work
Lord.
30 years, an additional 10 years, and the staff gets 70% of their best cumulative 5 consecutive years of earnings. Now,
Right.
if they gave me that, let's say you were a series regular from 2000 to 2005 or 1985 to 1990,
Right.
and your salary as an actor was $300,000 a year. Now, if you retired at 65, you would get $210,000 a year when you retired. At 55, the max that you could get would be only 70% of 96,000 a year. So you'd make about 67,000.
Yeah.
This is the discrepancy. Tom Cruise has made hundreds of millions of dollars, gets less of a pension than a staff member who's worked the last 5 years, but 20 years service at SAG-AFTRA, who's made $115,000 a year. So where is the ethics and value in that? Since when do our current leaders allow this to happen?
Hidden under the pen of the CPA and late night accounting.
Well, there's much more to that because the bottom line is that our leadership should be protecting the members, and we're supposed to be a member-run union.
100,000 members at one time, or even more now.
Well, look, they merged the union
With AFTRA.
Yeah, they merged the union with AFTRA in 2012 without doing the proper financial due
AFTRA
diligence.
was basically broke. How do you know that? How do you know that? Because I'm an AFTRA member. I worked at every friggin' radio station here in Los Angeles under an AFTRA contract. And I remember when AFTRA was talking about merging, it was a 10-year talk. And, are we going to merge? Are we going to merge? Are we not going to merge? And you saw one radio station become non-union. Next one become non-union. The next TV station become non-union. The next radio station become non-union. Voiceover houses, non-union. And all of a sudden, from 93 stations here in Los Angeles that were probably 80 of them or 85 of them were union, now we got what? Maybe a spit in a rock of maybe 5, 10, 15 stations at the very most paying union dues. So you can't support a union on that minimal amount of money coming in, and that's just one city. Now you manufacture that over the nation, the whole nation got hit that way. AFTRA was going broke.
Well, according to the finances of AFTRA, this is the problem I have with the leadership. It would only be fair and ethical to let members know before you merge what shape they're in, and they said AFTRA was fine. And normally, any time you merge two entities, it is customs and practices of any business in the world that they would audit 3 years of their tax returns, match them up to their banking records, a qualified audit, not a surface audit. They have to go down and actually get the valuation of the company just to ascertain whether the merge would be successful or they're paying the right amount, too much, too little. This is just standard business practices.
Everybody does that. They
didn't. The problem is our leadership under David White and Unite for Strength, and at the time, Ken Howard, rest in peace, they didn't do this. I had been fighting along with a group at the time called Membership First, who Kent McCord was running, who was a very ethical gentleman who really fought for a lot of the rights for us.
Yeah. Especially TV rights.
Especially television rights and film rights and principles and ethics. We were trying to just say, we're fine with the theory of merger. No problem. If we really could have a better bargaining base with all the actors in one space so we wouldn't have two different contracts, phenomenal. But you can't do that unless you do the financial analytics to both unions to see if that even would be possible, or if the footprint going out with that merger going forward would make sense and actually provide a value add as opposed to a de minimis financial result. So we asked them to do that, and we also asked them to do a financial study or an actuary study on our pension plans. Now, this is the part that is so unethical. If at the time a whistleblower named Craig Simmons came out and said that there was embezzlement going on in the Screen Actors Guild pension fund, so he got phenomenal marks as an employee. He was an attorney. 2 weeks after he blew the whistle on a gentleman named Karimi Nadar, he got fired. And it's interesting. He filed a wrongful termination suit, and he settled, I believe, with a sum of money,
a handsome figure,
and a gag order. So we don't know the details unless we actually file another action to see what it was.
Well, it sounds like a forensic search needs to be done on that merger and everything from that point on.
Well, it does.
Yeah,
we've been saying that all along. There was a petition put out by 1,600 members that actually signed this petition.
I remember that.
Well, what happened was our own Secretary Treasurer didn't even sign it. She refused to honor the people's wishes. Our own National Executive Director, David White, just poo-pooed it and shoved it aside.
Right.
This is the livelihood of, there's about 47,000 members that are qualified. These people deserve to be taken care of. Mm-hmm. And the people that worked 30 or 40 years, they certainly, in my opinion, need to be taken care of first. But to merge a union or two business entities without the proper financial due diligence. And then 5 months after we merge, it comes out that
Yeah.
AFTRA is virtually bankrupt
Right.
with 11,000 members
Yep.
listed on AFTRA's books that didn't exist. And then there was a lot of deficiencies, Price Waterhouse stated, in their audit. I saw the audit. So I asked the leadership at SAG-AFTRA, what are you doing to protect us from
The debt.
potential fraud in AFTRA? Oh, we just closed the loopholes. But I asked, how did you close it? The only way to close a loophole is to then qualify the audit, which is basically a forensic audit.
Right.
So you can find out where the deficiencies came from, how deep they went, how it happened, so you could close it so it never would happen again. And then you find out, you match every bank record with all the accounts receivable, payable, the vendors, the salaries, the tax returns. It's a penny to the penny audit. And then you figure out who's at fault and deal with it. So the bottom line is that we've been calling for these audits for years. So recently they merged.
Yeah, about 10 years now.
More than 10 years.
15?
No, it's been about 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
So now they want to merge our health plan, and I stand up in front of Michael Estrada, the health and pension plan
Are they
CEO.
going to merge the health plan
They did
in the
it already.
same way?
They did it already.
They did it already.
They merged it again, and I asked them, what financial analytics have you done to even ensure the membership?
The same one.
Well, the bottom line is I asked if there was ever a forensic audit on the first embezzlement, and Gabriel Kateris, the acting interim president, threatened to have me thrown out of the room. What kind of a leader would have a pension participant of 38 years who asks a valid financial question, which is my right under Title V and Title I of the
Part
LMRDA,
of the membership, yes.
and it's my right as a plan participant, and it's my right under the Constitution of the United States of America.
Yeah.
It's my freedom of speech.
He tossed you out. He wanted to toss you out. Huh?
She wanted to toss me out. And I quoted this line. Mr. White, to his credit,
Right.
told them to let Mr. Antico stay.
Right.
But can you imagine a healthcare executive not wanting to answer the questions? Now, I asked him if he had done a forensic audit, A, and B, I also asked them what financial due diligence they did to know that it's safe to merge both health plans, and what guarantee do we have as SAG members that our plan isn't subsidizing greatly the other. So he said we have the best financial analysts that you can get, which means nothing to me because there's no data to prove what he's saying. So a couple months before they merged, they had some rumblings about some overspending and misappropriations by SAG pension trustees. To add insult to injury, after we merged on January 17th of this year, the Department of Labor comes out and says there's a $3.4 million embezzlement on behalf of AFTRA by an employee. So if these people had done their homework, they would have picked it up because the DOL's investigation was 6 years running.
Yeah.
So that means they've been negligent in AFTRA and negligent in SAG. So how do you trust these people and this leadership?
So how do you fix this?
The way to fix
How do
it.
you fix
How
this?
do I fix it?
How do you fix this?
It's called accountability and transparency. You first have to go in and audit everyone. You have to audit all the books forensically. You have to actually see how much money we have, where it went, if there was any malfeasance, who did it. You have to financially and ethically clean house so you actually know how much money you have. You also have to separate the unclaimed residuals trust fund from producer bonds because it's in the LM2, which is a financial document every year. Well, it just colluded in one number on the yearly financial report, which anybody could look at online. But what you need is transparency. You need to break the number, and it's a rolling number, meaning that there's always movies, applying for SAG bonds.
Right.
But the unclaimed residuals trust fund, sometimes they get paid. Now it's interesting because Dave Robb wrote a report. When they had the Screen Actors Guild Awards, there was all these movie stars going up as presenters. He writes a report. All these big stars, there was like 25 of them who had money at the Unclaimed Residuals Trust Fund, and he made the comment, "What, these people are hard to find? You can't call Julianne Moore's agent or William Shatner's agent."
Yeah, they all live here.
So again, it's a question of ethics and principles.
So you're going to have to change the incoming president, which you're a candidate for. Is going to really have to take it upon his shoulders, your shoulders, and you're going to have to change the climate, the philosophical climate of SAG in order to get this done, because you're going to have a lot of people that are rooted in there in the old way. So we're talking about a lot of heads could possibly roll here.
Sure. Look, respectfully, the old way is truth, justice, and harmony.
When you go back far enough, yeah,
the illusion the illusion is in play now, but it's a microcosm of how the country is. I mean, this is an example of the country. I mean,
Well, yeah, because the people are the country, and how the people are today is how every business is, and every political agenda, and in every facet of our lives, because we're the people living at this time. So we bring what we are, and yeah, that makes perfectly good logic. And how do you change that climate? How do you change people from something that they've been doing as natural to them for decades? And how do you to clean house and move forward and clean that up? That's a daunting task.
first of all, you cannot lead with anger like this country. You have to lead with ethics, principles, love, and forgiveness. And I appreciate the work, though I don't agree with the actions of the political party that's leading SAG-AFTRA, nor do I agree with the actions of the president. As human beings, I acknowledge and support them, because the essence of those beings is different than their actions. I do not support their actions, and I support the truth. So what I plan to do is I'll bring the truth in, and either they live with the truth, or they stand in to live in deception. If they live in deception, I believe that the people will rise up and get this message, because people deserve to be taken care of. They deserve to be told the truth. Because how many members of SAG would have voted to merge, or how many members of AFTRA? Of course, AFTRA probably
wanted to merge.
How many members of SAG would have merged if they were told before the merger that there was a multi-million-dollar embezzlement in their health plan, pension and health plan, and that AFTRA was virtually bankrupt? I don't know any person in their right mind that would have voted that up, except for the AFTRA people. They wanted
it bad. They needed it.
But the difference is that we don't even know if there's been if we're bailed out until we audit forensically,
right,
the two entities. And the thing that I don't know about is AFTRA's health care plan. And if you're a single person, it's very similar to SAG's. You're okay.
Yeah.
However, on the family of four plan, your premiums, if you were an AFTRA member for a year, were like $17,200,
right,
and your premium for a family of four in SAG's plan was $1,620. So SAG's plan was 10 times better than AFTRA's. Furthermore, in the pension
AFTRA
plan,
had no money. That's why it was being jacked up.
Here's what people don't
all
know.
Those years.
In the pension plan, AFTRA's pension plan accrual rate is 0.86%.
Yeah, I know.
So it's $200,000 per year, meaning that if you're a broadcaster or a radio news announcer and you make $10 million a year, you get about $1,720 contributed to your pension. The Screen Actors Guild pension, however, the cap is $225,000 per employer. So if you're a SAG member and you work for NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, and Warner Brothers, and you make $200,000, you make $1 million, you get $20,000 of a contribution to your pension. So they'll never be able to be merged, because one is so diametrically different, and
lopsided.
But ERISA law won't allow it. So my question is, why did they merge the health care plan? Embezzlements came out. I don't believe that they did the proper financial analytics, evidenced by the two embezzlements they didn't uncover. We're being led in the dark. We have a person that runs our pension plan, a nice gentleman named Mike Estrada. He has a certified financial planner certificate. So
certificate?
Yeah, you can get
We can get those online.
You can get them online in
it's like
in
10
3 to 6
hours or
months.
something.
Yeah, it's
whatever.
not very much.
It's not that much to get.
So we don't have an
CFP.
MBA in corporate finance. We don't have someone that runs hedge funds. We don't have Highline money managers. We have Mike Estrada, who got hired by Bruce Dow, and Bruce Dow is one of his, I think his brother-in-law got convicted of a $700,000 embezzlement for writing a newsletter in our pension plan that he never wrote for about $700,000. That came out in the Department of Justice's report. So you have all this malfeasance, and then you have more alleged malfeasance, but we'll never know unless those plans are forensically audited. And Michael Estrada said at that meeting that they did. We have asked him to produce the document. Robin Riker, the national board member, asked to produce a document. Cupid Hayes, a local board member, asked him to produce a document. We've asked Jane Austen, our Secretary of Treasurer, to demand and produce a document, because we as members deserve to see that we're protected, and we deserve to see what the actual finances are. Now, if the people that lead us are not being transparent, because if you're honest, you can have a short memory, A, and B, you should be showing everybody your books. And there's certainly no danger in that.
Right. All right. So now, to clean up the financial aspect, to clean up the health aspect and the medical aspect. That's a huge task. What other things that you see wrong with SAG that need some looking into?
Oh, there's the base.
Some of your key hot buttons besides that.
Well, that's the biggest hot
Right.
button. You cannot if you have a house and you have no foundation, you've got nowhere
Well,
to
if you
go.
got no money and no money coming in that's legit,
Yeah, you
and
have
money
to-
that's going out faster than it's coming in.
Well, you have to have
You're
an
in trouble.
infrastructure
Right.
within to work. You know, the things that I want to do are more dimensional. I think that everybody's, their money's going nowhere. I mean, the representation. I mean,
They're
the
not
stunt-
investing it properly.
No, the stunt community and the
Which you
singers and
primarily
dancers,
come out of.
both acting and stunts, both.
Right.
But the stunt community, the singers and dancers, were given their own office. And the stunt community has always had a separate office. But when they merged the union, they fired 40% of staff and closed 10 regional offices.
Now, I've heard many stuntmen complain about that.
At the same time that they fired 40% of staff and closed 10 regional offices, David White in that same year took a $60,000 raise, our national executive director.
Gee, I wonder how.
That's Wall Street politics. Why would our national board think that was of value? And the current national board led by Unite for Strength, their rhetoric has always been, well, we have to give them, so much better pension in order to keep that great talent. And I've asked them, kindly provide the financial data that proves that they perform, because provide data for me that they've organized so many more people, that they've increased pension and health contributions, because we have a 2% accrual rate and the staff has 3.5%. We used to have the same, but in 2007 or 8, again, it got hijacked. And all these issues need to be investigated so we can restore the pension plan back to parity between the performers and the staff, which is one of the things that I'm certainly committed to doing.
I bet you're getting a lot of heat against that from the existing power structure.
Well, this existing power structure operates without data, and there should be no emotion here. It just should be data. What's the data? The bottom line is that do you want a national executive director that doesn't tell you the truth, that doesn't tell you that there was an FBI investigation on the SAG's pension plan before we merged? Do you want a national executive director and a board of directors to not do the proper financial due diligence, and nobody explained, no one from AFTRA, that AFTRA was virtually bankrupt with 11,000 members on their books that didn't exist?
And the health issue, which is top of mind consciousness for everybody today, is really important.
It is important, and the health care is very important. They kicked 300 seniors with about 3 months' notice off of our self-pay program with 3 months' notice. And the bottom line is that they said that they needed about $5 million to fund it. Now, note, the current administration, when they merged, instead of staying in the buildings that they were in New York.
I remember they moved.
Well, they moved to Lincoln Center and spent $1 million on Highline furniture, and they didn't need to move. And the buildings would have been much cheaper rent. They couldn't rent them when they moved. In 3 years, it's cost almost $16 million of dues-paying members like me and you for their mistake.
Yeah.
Now, what could you have bought with $16 million? I could have bought lawyers, auditors, people that handle our residuals. I would have bought a lot more business reps. I certainly don't want to pay $5.2 million a year. I mean, the staff is so uneducated
You
financially.
create a hedge fund and have a hedge
Sure.
fund manager to make it, especially over that time period, how the economy blew up, and for hedge funds, especially that.
Well, 2 years ago, they re-upped $60 million for a leased building in Los Angeles at 5750.
I never figured that one out when they had other buildings. They owned one building a long time ago, and then they moved like 3-4 buildings in the last 10, 15, 18 years. They've just been bouncing around like dominoes.
Well, I can prove the case that's idiotic. If they had purchased a building in 2009,
Yeah.
I mean, the bottom line is that you're talking about $60 million.
Should have purchased a building in 1990.
Sure. They tried. Connie Stevens tried.
Right.
And they negated it. If they had bought a building when Connie Stevens actually was pushing
See, we've
for
been
it.
having a foresight problem with SAG and AFTRA for 5 decades. I mean, at least 4 decades, at least my whole working life. There's been this foresight. They don't see the future. They don't plan for the future because it's basically been a cash cow for those that can dip their fingers in there and not get caught because of the lack of the accounting.
If Connie Stevens were here, if they had actually purchased a building when she was really pushing for it, that building would have been in the profit in equity, over $50 million.
I know.
And
I know the location right where it's at.
Well, the problem now is that why would an executive staff and a national board who's not very educated, and I mean, listen, they're nice people, they're actors, but they don't have business acumen.
Right.
And the thing is, you should be bringing in, corporate MBAs that deal in finance. And
well, these people that have experience of 30, 40 years in finance and real estate development, and hedge funds and stocks and all that stuff. That's how it should be. That's how the Teamsters work. Even though that's how IATSE works. That's how everybody else seems to work.
Look, if you were in the S&P 3 years ago, you're making nothing but money. Just if you're in
right.
this low, just in the S&P. The bottom line since the financial crisis of 2008, when we're about 7,500 points.
Right.
We're now.
Oh, come on.
We're about. It's 3 times as high. It's about approximately 21,000. So at 3 times as high, we're at the lower levels of our pension funding, 80.07, and that doesn't count. That doesn't count the Pension Protection Act. In 2011, the pension sent us a letter.
Plus, we have a smaller membership.
The Pension Protection Act allowed the Screen Actors Guild pension plan to move their liabilities out over a course of 5 to 10 years. So that means the liabilities are basically off balance sheet, so we don't have to claim them because you can spread them out over a period of time. So I'd like to know, if you factor those in, what is the real funding, and how is it that our stock market's gone up, our market, even if you're in just, even if you're in bonds or in fixed income, which most of them are, or just has in the Qs or the S&P or the NASDAQ. I mean, you can't help but make money. Now, here's what I'd like to know. I'd like to know, in 2012, a lot of staff members got forced to retire. When they got forced to retire, they got their severance and their stipends, but they got at their higher rates. So I'd like to know how many of them are retiring with over $100,000 a year that are chipping into our fund. And furthermore, I want to know why the trustees haven't raised the contribution caps. There's a lot of things that financially that need to be addressed at SAG-AFTRA.
So you got to get that house clean right there on the economic side.
Sure.
Then you can move on to some of the other issues that are very important in this town. Runaway film projects, the dwindling membership over years, the expense of membership today. There's a lot of things that are just have gone awry. At www.thepowervoices.com. That's right, it's the Jesse T. Show. I told you we were going to get into this for actors, anybody in the entertainment business today. It's real important to understand how SAG-AFTRA works, because ultimately, even if you're not in the union yet, you're going to want to join the union at some point somewhere in this country, and it's important for you to be a part of this union, because before the unions were here, the working man and working woman were really abused a lot by the major studios in that respect. But it's important to really look at the different candidates that are there. And we have one of the candidates here in the house today, Pete Antico. He's been around the system for a long, long time, talking about these numbers, which are real important. You have to have the ability to have some forensic searching and understand the economics and where the money is going and how much is coming in and why it's going there. These questions need to be acted. We've seen that, being an AFTRA and a SAG member myself for a lot of years. We've seen that understanding, that relationship with the membership change over the decades. There used to be more of a kinship of a relationship. It seems to have gotten antagonistic. On Instagram Live, good to have you here at Facebook.com/Jesse Terrero, live stream, Periscope, and we're out there and everywhere. Have you seen that over the last year time in the business? Have you seen the relationship between the union, the union itself, the staff members and that, and the membership? Has that become more antagonistic over the years?
It has, and it needs to come back with, we're all on the same human team for the highest ethical good. The one thing that I want to caution, and the United States is a very pro-union busting atmosphere.
Ever since Reagan,
right?
Yes.
So now what we have, there's another bill in California to try to make this a right-to-work state.
Oh, boy.
And if that happens, that will destroy SAG-AFTRA's infrastructure.
You take the big states out, it's gone.
The biggest protections that I enjoyed when I was a child, my father was in a union, a printing union.
Right.
And the unions across the country kept every family with health insurance that would protect you. And I knew that. The teacher, my mother is in the teachers' union, and the benefits that she also provided for my father, though the salaries weren't very good, but the benefits made up for it. Right. The bottom line, unless we all stand together, the right to work stake issues we have in Atlanta and in New Orleans and in Florida,
Louisiana,
but the difference is how to combat it is with ethics and principles and contract enforcement. We have a leader in labor, a national executive director who's a labor lawyer. He can't even get our travel, our per diem issues. These are all standard in our collective bargaining that we've had for over 20 years. I mean, these are basic collective bargaining issues that should be enforced. And the bottom line is that everybody, it's like, oh, you could only work in this state non-union and you get the same benefits as a person in a union. Not many people know that. If it's a right to work state, you can get a pension, you can get everything I have.
You can get all the same stuff, but you still don't have the protection of the union.
But you don't. But really, what protection?
You have no protection.
What protection?
Unless you invest yourself and are smart enough to be able to do that.
But the difference is you do, because you still accumulated a health plan. There is a falsity out of it. You can still, right to work law is different. You can get the same benefits I do, but you don't have to join the union, pay your $3,800, and you don't have to pay you don't have to pay dues.
Well, one of the things with the union, things are taken out automatically. There are things that come out of a person's paycheck versus a right to work state. You've got to make that contribution, and human beings, the way human beings are, they don't make that contribution.
Actually, part of that's untrue, because the producers, our health plan is funded by the producers. It's not.
You're talking about the union.
The union. But if you're at FICOR, you still get the same benefit that I do. The producers still take money out for your pension. Mm-hmm. See, there's a mistake.
Well, here's the difference, though. The difference is that if you're not contributing through the year, at some point a certain wage has to be made in the union to continue with your health policy. But if when you're in a right to work state, if you don't contribute after day one is over with, you've got no health insurance. You go to COBRA real fast, or the Obama plan, which is completely falling apart now.
Well, the difference is right to work. The only reason I can organize people that are in right to work states to join SAG-AFTRA is to show that the contract enforcement is impeccable. And when they call, if they need overtime or something happens with their check, that they take care of it.
They got somebody batting for you.
That's right. And then when you go to New York, you could work, because you can't work in New York. You can't work in Los Angeles if you want to work on the bigger shows.
Right.
But Atlanta is such a big hub that I would want to speak to those members by cleaning up contract enforcement. And when I clean that enforcement up, and I could demonstrate by my actions, by SAG-AFTRA's actions, I can get them to join the union. And the bottom line, with background performance, it's abysmal, because they don't even have a national minimum wage, which they should have. They should have a national minimum wage, and they don't. No. And I'm going to want to fight for that for them, because,
Screen Extras Guild. I mean,
I was in the Screen Extras Guild. Not many people know it. I was in that for a year.
SEG,
at the beginning.
Man. Yeah, a lot of people started that way. A lot of folks have started that way, but it's unheard of now. I mean, nobody even talks about it anymore.
The Screen Extras Guild is where I started, and the people that were bringing me into the film business said you should be an extra to learn how the fundamentals and the infrastructure of the business
and how
works.
a film set works.
Exactly.
Right.
So now, because of that, the extras issues there's something called iActor at the Screen Actors Guild, which is a website, but it's ineffective. The technology is ineffective. Every show that comes out that you should be able to submit yourself as a background performer should be on our website. So it should be designed, the technology where you could submit yourself, your picture, to all of these roles for free. That's a service of being in the union.
That's a really important item today with the technology and the way it's changing and the next generation of performers coming along the line. Everything is changing in how you get a job today and how you present yourself, and you've got to be a part of that new technology. And it amazes me that SAG-AFTRA has fallen way behind on this cutting-edge technology, and one would think that they would be on the cutting edge of it, out in front. And they're not. And this is what I was talking about, is that they seem to have lost the connection of what the performers want, as well as proper accounting, which is really important, because if you don't know what, like you said, you don't know what your house is doing, how do you know what to do with your house? Other than take money in the middle of the night. Essentially, that's what they're doing, and they don't have an accountability for it. Oh, I didn't take it. I'm okay. Oh, okay. So I'm supposed to believe you. But that separation, it has to come back together. Otherwise, we won't have a union, because these right-to-work states are popping up everywhere. When they, like Louisiana, I'm producing a film right now. I signed up to find them money. That's what I do. I find money for films and TV productions, primarily films. And, it's Louisiana. They're going to shoot the whole thing in Louisiana, 45% rebate. I mean, how does California even?
35.
I think it's 45.
35.
Is it 35? Okay. Well, how does California even compete against that?
Well, it can. It's getting some good competition because I'll tell you why. California is probably one of the California and New York by far are the best places to shoot because you have a massive talent pool here in all departments, whether they be cinematographers, writers, directors, producers, actors, stunt people. There is such a concentration of talent here that the quality of work when someone's on location for 6 months where they want to be home with their wives and their family is better when you're home base, when you're shooting in your home base state. I think your work will be more effective. It'll get done more timely and save production companies capital. I certainly could make a financial case for that. And if you're giving Californians a decent incentive, and if someone has a 5 or 8% better incentive somewhere else, I believe you're going to make it up shooting in your backyard just for the fact that everybody can sleep in their own bed at night and you could get a better work ethic. People are happy and they can see their family. It's
well, there is an argument there, but then the cost of living in California eats up whatever you save in terms of when you're working. It just eats the cost of housing, cost of food, cost of gas, cost of all that is cheaper in other states. I know a lot of guys that have just picked up roots and moved to Louisiana and Florida because they made that their home, and they're editors and they're production people and they're cameramen and
if you've made a lot of money in the film business,
right.
It's simple economics if you were moving to Atlanta because you get 3 times for your money and housing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were, I don't care what
and that's
job
what
you
they
had.
sell. That's what they sell.
But no matter what job you have, I
No,
don't
it
care
doesn't
what
matter,
job it is.
no.
If you move to a state like that,
Come on.
where you're getting a lot more purchasing power for the dollar, and what people don't understand is that the last negotiation, they were applauding $200 million in what they called gains without the factoring in of the real rate of inflation and the purchasing power of the U.S. dollar. So if the purchasing power of the U.S. dollar is down 1.5% or 2% a year, and you could certainly make a case that the dollar's gone down substantially in the last 20 years, the purchasing power. So it's not about how much you earn, because that's just an illusion. Hi, I just got a $10 an hour raise, but
the hamburger went up $15.
That's right, exactly.
Right.
This is just about purchasing power of goods and services.
Right.
So me, I'm a much more financial. I would just educate people to the truth. The truth is, we gained $200 million, and I believe you factored in a rate of inflation, and we got nothing in terms of purchasing power. And our new media contract is probably one of the worst abysmal failures ever because Netflix is giving no residuals.
They give nothing.
Nothing.
And all of them are following suit because Netflix is the biggest at 100 million subscribers. So they're all kind of jumping on that bandwagon.
So how about this? 12 of the highest paid media conglomerate CEOs for 3 years, their salary was a little bit over $240 million.
Yep.
160 SAG-AFTRA members split between that particular union. We garnered 200, and not even factoring in, purchasing power or the rate of inflation.
Right.
So, we have to be led with intelligence, truth, and justice. And I don't know everything, but I certainly have an intelligent mind. And what I don't know, I'll go hire.
Well, you've got to go
financial
find
addicts.
the people that
You
have
bet.
the intelligence
You
behind
bet.
what you're talking about. You don't have to be the smartest person. You have to find the smartest people.
Yeah, listen, it's not about being right. If I'm right, I stand corrected, say thank you for educating me, and then we move forward ethically. The bottom line is that our leadership doesn't know everything, but there are people in a room trying to do the best they can, but they're not educated to
That's
take
an
us forward.
excuse that's not good enough because, just the fall of not purchasing a piece of real estate that's now worth $50 or $60 million on the market, it would have been free and clear by that time. Right there is a major investment, which would have reaped major rewards and major money. The fact that they didn't jump into, the exploding stock market with all gusto, because nobody was there really to direct them and lead them into that.
Well, now they have, and being fair and ethical on all sides, our pension and health plans are restricted, or the pension, their money managers, they hire some professionals. They hired Bill Gross. They had a couple people I think were very astute. I don't know the other three. I have certainly asked them.
Well, for decades, Pete, though, the pension and health plan, both for all the performers and motion picture health and welfare and all of them, they were solid rock. I'm just saying that the future can be very dubious for them now.
Well, the DGA's pension health plan is very much in the black. They're strong. The DGA owns its own real estate, and in fact owns a lot of real estate.
There you go.
And the Writers Guild owns their own real estate. Our pension plan building we own, which is the only entity that is behind the coin, which I don't know why, is SAG and SAG-AFTRA. And I've been after them since 2008 or 9 to continually purchase a building. I asked the former president, why don't you purchase real estate to protect the members, because we're pissing money away. And in about 15 years, we could probably have it paid off, 20 at the most, and then all that money will go back into the servicing of the membership. We'd have a lot more money. Plus, we can rent out office space, and we can bring in revenue like the DGA. We can have production offices and also rent them out like the DGA.
They are extremely expensive in this town.
Exactly. So you can make it to a profit-producing entity. Like, my ideas are different. I want to implement, I want to purchase a building somewhere that's a big 10,000 square foot building. I want to put computers in there, voiceover booths, broadcaster booths, places where actors can shoot their auditions and send them off, rehearsal halls for actors, rehearsal halls for stunt people.
One would think, that's logical. It makes sense.
And a place where you can, a green screen, a place where you could shoot.
It makes sense.
A place where you could shoot your own webisodes. I want to create a SAG-AFTRA channel.
Revenue like
I want
mad.
to create a SAG-AFTRA channel.
Why not?
Because, and then we need to do branding and marketing, because we should be marketing our goods and services all over the world.
The performers and their performances and the things that they participate in, and they never have. That's why I've always said they're so archaic.
Sure.
And they've been archaic for 30 years.
And what needs to be studied, we're a nonprofit entity in Delaware. We used to be a nonprofit entity in California, which in my opinion was much better. I thought the business entity in Delaware, which I'm very educated to, allows many more protections for the executive staff and leaves the membership pretty much out in the cold if any action was to be taken against unethical behavior. But if this was a for-profit company and our leadership did what they did on their executive boards, the executive staff, they would have a shareholders' derivatives action placed against them by all the shareholders or the members for being negligent with their money. The bottom line is that you didn't need to move buildings. You could have stayed where you are. You would have saved $16 million. This is not about ego. It's about data. We certainly, if we had to move an office to Valencia or move an office to Sylmar or move an office to North Hollywood.
Everybody's going to the Northeast San Fernando Valley now because it's cheap.
Look,
I've sold 2 major studios, buildings, 20 and 30 acres there, and they're getting through the process of the city, which I'm helping them do that, but everybody's moving there.
Look, you could buy a warehouse in Agoura. You could buy a warehouse in North Hollywood.
You could buy a warehouse in Sun Valley for nothing.
Absolutely, but you can make
50,000 square feet.
Yeah, but what if you made it a go-to place and you built a 500-seat equity theater in there like Broadway?
The business that booms around that too,
absolutely,
as well, Starbucks, etc., and all that comes in
look at the Television Academy. They have a beautiful neighborhood. They built that area up.
Built it up. They changed the whole neighborhood.
Plenty of property there. There's a lot of places to look.
So these are some of the ideas
Sure.
and some of the things that you bring to bear in terms of cleaning house is the primary thing. Cleaning and understanding and getting out of the shadows what really happened so that you can point the direction. So that's a major push.
There's nothing I can do about the merger. It's done.
No, that's done.
But
that's
have to move forward. To move forward with what we have, and we have to make our entity an income-producing, ethical, profit-producing business model. Whether it's profit, I have to look at the laws, whether it's profit, for-profit, non-profit. I have to study this. This is a part of study.
But your
ideas
is what is important.
Sure.
I mean, you're talking about creating a structure that highlights what SAG-AFTRA is all about. Like any business, the branding of it should be high-tech, involved in what's happening today, the interactive process throughout the world with the SAG-AFTRA technology. It isn't. You're talking about the health issues. You're talking about the money issues. You're talking about looking to the future to see how communities can be changed with development of communities. I mean, you put a beautiful structure in, you're going to have the proliferation of the community changing. You got jobs that are created out of that.
I would meet with Eric Garcetti, and I would want to do it in conjunction with his support, because it really is an economic boon for California. If we're building our infrastructure, ethically, where, hey, this is Hollywood where it started, and this is where the old glamorous studios where all the actors came from to be in Hollywood.
That's right.
And that needs to be brought back with ethics and principles for the number one goal is for the service of all the members. This
Right.
guild shouldn't be run for the enrichment of the staff.
No.
It should be run for the service of the membership first and foremost, and the staff should always be treated fair and equitable on a performance-based basis. Because if you do good things and you make us a lot of money, hey, I'd love to give you a bonus. But if you're costing us money, and then I have the current national board applauding their malfeasance or their lack of business acumen, and the part of it is that sometimes it's like the word malfeasance. There was a lot of crime in the pension and health plan. Now, if our executive staff made bad business decisions, you cannot arrest them for that. That bad business decisions are happen all the time. Malfeasance around our pension and health plan, that happens. But to not demand that they be forensically audited, our NED, David White, our national president, Gabriel Gutierrez, the entire national board, and I want to be specific about this, the Unite for Strength people and the national board who run it vote this accountability down. That's why I'm certainly requesting that all those people on the Unite for Strength ticket be voted out. No one should support people that don't support accountability and transparency. No one should support anyone that doesn't support in honesty and the truth. So I want to run on honesty and the truth. There's a group called Membership First that I left, that I'm running as an independent. But the people on the national board that vote there, they have ethics and principles. Those people have ethics and principles, and I support them on the national board.
How's your campaign coming along?
Awesome. I raised $15,000 in 20 days on GoFundMe. It's been overwhelming grassroots
Give that
support.
site out.
Pardon me?
Give the site.
Well, it's a www.gofundme, and it's I think Pete Antico president. But if you just Google GoFundMe and put Pete Antico president, it's there. I'm also on Twitter at
Spell
Pete
your
Antico.
last name for the folks.
My last name is A-N-T like Tom, I-C-O. First name is Pete, P like Peter, E-T-E. And I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram as at Pete Antico, Twitter and Instagram. And then my Facebook page is Pete Antico. So
They can participate with you.
Sure,
and
they
get
can
in touch
participate with me there,
Get the
and
word
you'll
out.
see videos that I have posted
Right.
in regards to some of the thing I'm saying. They're short videos, 2 minutes each, but they're finite and they're focused, so you can understand them easily.
Well, you can post this whole thing up too, because
Sure.
we archive it.
Sure, awesome.
Absolutely. So now, what's the next step in your campaign? We're running out of time, so we're going to be up against a hard shift here in a second, about 2 minutes. What's the next step for your campaign? Where does it have to go now? And when does the ballot take place?
I think the voting will take place at I believe end of July, first week in August. I can get the exact date, but that's when it is. The petitions actually go out for people to nominate themselves to run on May 24th. And I would encourage everybody who's an actor or a broadcaster or a background artist to really pay attention and read what has been going on. Because the bottom line is our pension and health plan should be in phenomenal shape with the way the stock market is. And the people leading us should demand forensic accounting and audits. Why wouldn't they? Ask the question, why wouldn't any ethical person want to know how much money is involved? Because the pension and health is of most importance for every member of this guild. And the primary reason to have union organization is your pension and health plan.
Now, this is a nationwide vote because
Nationwide.
SAG is all over the country.
Correct.
So are you doing a lot of traveling?
I'm doing campaigning all over the country.
Good.
And I'll be doing some traveling in the very near future.
All right, give the website out so they can participate again real fast.
The
GoFundMe.
The GoFundMe is just Google GoFundMe Pete Antico and it'll pop up. And at Pete Antico Twitter, at Pete Antico Instagram, and then you can find me on Facebook under Peter Antico.
Hey, man, it's good to have you in here talking these issues. Kind of heavy duty, but it's important because the life of this industry is based on the protections that we members have within a union because there's so much against us out there across the country in that respect. So it's good to have you here on thepowervoices.com and the Jesse T Show. You got to come back as your campaign continues on. Okay, we want to kind of keep track of it.
Sure.
And check out the archive at YouTube Live, The Power Voices, www.youtube.com/The AVEntertainmentLive.com, and www.thepowerofvoices, and Facebook.com/The Power of Voices, straight to the point. And Jesse Terrero, hey, you just entered the world according to me. Jesse T. Thanks, Pete. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
You got the word. We're out of here. We'll see you tomorrow. We got road tripping. The Brown Beauty is off duty. Bam! See you later. Yo!